Good day, good day, good day. This is Mr. Anderson. This is a little different today it's about, I guess it ain't and it is, it's about evolution and evolving. If you guys know, I've been in the trucking industry for over half of my life. And still in it and still going. I drove trucks for approximately 23, 24 years. Had my own small fleet. Was an owner operator. Had my own small fleet of trucks that I had, and got into management. And now the industry that I'm in, I'm on the entertainment side of trucking. So that being said, anyone that's production manager that needs that does tours or any kind of touring between one truck and 20 trucks, hit me up and hit us up. Hit me up, message me, and we can go from there. But anyway, the backtrack to what my main thing is this whole autonomous truck thing. I'm kinda on the fence, and I'm probably going to stay that way because I understand both sides of this autonomous trucks. Of course, I believe in electric vehicles. I have one. And I've had it, the autopilot. I didn't trust it, but I did trust it. There were certain situations that I did take over that I didn't feel safe doing. Yet, that's from me coming and driving truck for so long and being, driving for all these driving vehicles for all those years, motorcycles. I have a motorcycle license, all that stuff. So it just really, I feel safer. But you have a generation now that don't want to drive, that they will Uber places and they will do that. So they're going to be a lot comfortable with just sitting in the back seat of a moving vehicle and not having to worry about nothing. So it's all by a program, mentally, us being programmed in that sense. And I'm not saying it's in a bad way. I'm just saying that's what happens. We evolve, and that's not in a good way or a bad way. So I do see both sides of it. Because being a manager and having drivers, it's hard to find drivers that want to drive. And with all the distractions that's going on in this world that we have on our phones and all that stuff, I see the part of it where in that new generation of tech boomers or phone boomers or whatever you want to call them, that's like playing video games and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just speaking reality. That's what I speak. I speak reality and facts. And you have a high, especially like my 21-year-old son. He loves video games. He wants to get into audio engineering. He care less about driving trucks, even though I had a company. And part of me is like, I know the industry, and I love the industry, but I don't want him to be in the industry. That's like, I know some people that are teachers that don't want their children to be teachers because, for one, the pay, and you really gotta have a love for it, and that's what pushes it. But mainly it's the pay. So all that to say, like the days of when you think back, I think back of my parents and our parents before that. My granddad was a truck driver. I didn't really understand it back then, and and I'd always know when I was going to ITT to go to be electrical engineering. He was like all for it, like go for it, because he listened to the news and he was ahead on that stuff, and he knew that things, he seen some things changed over time and was kind of warning me. But once I got in the truck, and he was like, okay, I wish you would have stayed in this, but now you got a business. Now you're doing something. You have your own trucking company. So some of that is as well, you know, because like then our parents, it was the manufacturing era where everybody was, it was farming, it was farming first and farming. And I remember with the sharecroppers, and the sharecroppers had, we'll go back farther than that, but the sharecroppers did the crops and all this stuff, and they, sold crops and maybe had other jobs and other little things they did to sustain a life. And then you got into the factory, the big automotive boom, where everybody was going to Detroit, and all these automotive manufacturing companies were booming. And then what happened with that? Technology took a lot of those jobs away, out. And now we're in an era of, okay, because that was, everything comes down to cost too as well. I'm trying to my brain is kind of scribbled about it, but it's like I understand. So things shift as we go along, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into electric. I love tearing up stuff and fixing it when I was little, so I wanted to get into fixing stuff and computers and everything. I just didn't have because they ended up getting rid of the program in my high school, because they it's not going to work, and it's not going to we didn't have enough students to sign up for the class for us to do it. So they got rid of the class. So what I end up doing is going to like welding and welding and woodwork class, which I love. That's why I love working with my hands. I love being hands-on because of that stuff. So, but then when I got out and I wanted to get in electrical engineering, some of my classmates that I did it when I was in, that lived in the Memphis area and surrounding areas, they had classes that did that in high school. So they were ahead of me, ahead of a few of us that didn't have that in these small towns. So they were one guy was already building amps for cars and for speakers and stuff. He was already doing stuff like that, which I'm like, man, he would be done with the test, and we still halfway through it, because he knew all that stuff. So I said that to say, like, so then that era started, and then that's when the computer era started booming. You get all these tech guys that's in these building computers, but then you start seeing manufacturing slowly going down, and then of course cost. They start shipping stuff that could be made cheaper overseas. So then what happened? Then you had, like I said, the automotive industry. All that stuff started getting shipped overseas, and for cheaper parts, for cheaper labor, and all that. So it's the same thing with this trucking industry. So then what happened? That supposedly we needed more truck drivers. So they started letting these foreign men come in, more men and women come in and drive trucks. So of course then that drives price down, because that's when I was in it. There was a time there when freight was good, and then the market got saturated because everybody's seeing that I can make all this money driving trucks. And then people started coming in, and that's what happened. People started taking freight for cheap, and it started bringing the freight down and the prices down. So then, you got accidents. Then you got maintenance fees and stuff on that. So the part about, these autonomous trucks, I see that. Now, I would have been more keen to want to own an electric truck, because that's less wear and tear. Because of course I got an electric vehicle, and I see the money I could have saved as a company on the electric vehicles. Now that I would be more opponent to starting off than having autonomous trucks. I would be more opponent to that, and I've seen those work. I've seen one of them firsthand, on electric trucks. But back to the thing, just so I see the cost, but then, like I said, there was time back in the day where they thought the light would be considered lights and electricity the devil or evil. And I know there's pros and cons, no kind of skipping. My mind is still trying to process all this stuff. But I see both sides, because yes, you have there's a lack of drivers. And I'm a manager now of about 13 drivers. And it's hard. And we're looking for drivers. But the driver pool that we pulling from now are a lot of guys and girls that want to be home every day, or they have families, and that's one of the reasons why I did what I did. Is I have a family. I want to be here with my family. I want to have a life. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy life and be free and go work out and do things that I want to do for myself. And at my age, that's I've did my time. Yet you got these younger generation that sees their parents bust their butt and be away from home, and they can pick up a camera and or phone and video game and make money sitting at a laptop or sitting in front of a TV doing nothing. So that's where it makes it hard for these trucking companies to find work. And what that's going to do, what people don't realize, it's still going to drive prices up, because there's a lack of drivers. So they're going to have to start paying the drivers that they do have more money and more incentives to run, and keep these drivers happy, to get the product delivered. So it's a ripple effect. Who's going to eat that cost? Who's going to eat the cost? And that's going to be the consumers. That's going to be you and I. We're going to have to eat that cost. That when we're buying these products and service, the products that we buy, that we buy, we're going to try to find. They're going to throw that cost onto us. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's food, clothing, material, wood for building houses. All that stuff is going to go up. And that's one of the things that I learned, that it's all a ripple effect. It's like I've said this before, taking a handful of rocks and throwing them up, straight up in the air, in the lake. All that's going to fall, but that ripple is going to overlap. Some's going to overlap more than others, but it's going to overlap, and all of it affects the overall structure of the water, flow of the water, flow of the lake, all the way down. So when I see the autonomous trucks, like I'm like, man, we need transportation. Everything that to your grass, on your every screw, nut, bolt, grass, dirt, all that stuff gets pulled in on a truck of some sort. So we need it. It's a necessity. That's a career that it's needed. And does that mean trucking is dead? No. In my part, no. There's always still going to be drivers. There's always going to still be truck drivers, because those trucks can't. Not yet, anyway, unless they put those AI robots in the truck and to get out the truck and deliver the door to door, which that's coming. That's gonna come. Yet we have to find a way to be smart and either invest in it or get into these tech jobs or teach our children about getting into these technical jobs, and teaching ourselves how to maneuver around into some of those things in a lot of sense. Being an automotive mechanic, when I went to one place when I first seen the electric truck, semi-truck, that it blew my mind when I seen that. And the guy let me, it just so happened they were getting ready to move it. And it was a brother that was like, he was one of the first mechanics electrical mechanic on semi-trucks, I think he said in the country, that was certified to work on those trucks. And I was like, wow, like that's what you do. That's how you create for yourself. You have to align yourself with it instead of complaining about it and whining about it. And that's some stuff that I'm learning. I'm learning that. I'm learning to get out of my fear, get out of myself, and find lanes, because I'm forced to do that. I'm forced to do that, which I'm cool with that. But I have to figure out what's best for me and my family, because I do want more. You have to want more. You have to want to evolve with the way we're going. Regardless if spaceships come and land on this earth tomorrow, we're still going to have to figure out a way to maintain for our household, maintain for our children. We're still going to have to get up and go to work if this stuff happens. We still got to figure out, just like the virus, any virus, that came out, we had to adjust. And ever since then, everything is an adjustment. But anyway, I just really see that it's coming. It's already here. It's coming. And there's a company out there that bought 500 trucks, and I see why. Because I see why. It's hard to get drivers. It's hard to keep drivers. But I see why it's hard to keep drivers. People want to be home. They want to be at home. They don't want to sit in no truck. I didn't want to sit in no truck over the road. After I've done it for so long, I didn't want to be over the road no more, because of the impact it had on my mind and my body, and my children. Like, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be home. I grew up playing sports and baseball and basketball and football. It's my dad and mom and stepmom and brother and sister, come to my games. They wasn't on the road. They wasn't off, where they couldn't be there unless they were going to school. My sister was going to college. But she came when she could, but that's understandable. But when I say that to say, we want to live. We want to live. People are really changing the tune of life and wanting that true freedom and true way to grow within themselves and enjoy the finer things in life. It's like we work hard and bust our butt while we can't enjoy it. So that's why I said I understand that market. But you got a lot of these older drivers like myself and older they're getting out of the industry. They've been getting out of the industry because they're just burnt out. They're burnt out. And things have changed dramatically to a point where they're not making the money that they used to make, back then. Or they don't feel safe out here anymore. That's part of me. When I had my own business, that was my money. If somebody backed into me, or I backed into somebody, or a tire blew or anything, that was my money. That was coming out of my pocket. My drivers did anything, that was coming out of my pocket. The insurance costs, yes, I can pay it back. I can get it back, or structure my business where some of that is being taken care of, the cost, when I negotiate my rates and negotiate my stuff. But if stuff is like diesel prices constantly going up, they'll go up, then they'll go down, they'll go up, and then they'll go down. So it's like you have to, it's trading to me. It's like trading. Now that I have this trading mind, it's trading. You're gonna win some trades, and you're gonna lose some trades. You got to take advantage of the wins when you can and be smart with them, because those losses that you're going to lose, things are going to have to balance itself out. And with that, back to the autonomous trucks, I see that happening. Yet I still see that you're going to still need drivers to do the local. So to me, now that I'm thinking about it, if you got trucks that are moving 24 hours a day on the highway, non-stop, just shipper, so that means you're going to have more dock workers. Dock workers are going to be able to get more hours. Then that means they're going to need a lot more local drivers to deliver the stuff. You know, that gets my business mind thinking like, man, maybe I need to get a box truck and start delivering, or get a cargo van or something. You know, let me invest in some of these companies. So that's where my mind goes, and that's where you guys' mind is to go. Like, shoot, let me start looking at stocks in some of these companies. Let me start looking at ways that I can profit off of that. We have to get out of this give me money mentality, and you got to start creating stuff and creating visions and things for yourself to get to where you need to be. But that's where I look at. You know, yes, it's going to be hard. And with anything, it's a learning curve. You got to get out your fear. You got to get out of your mind. That's why I say it's still kind of the same. But we have to get out of some mindsets and change the mindsets and align ourselves with what we want to do for ourselves and our family. Because what have you ever thought about what 10 years is going to look like from now? And I think I just seen something that said, a video that a friend of mine sent me that's in trucking, that said that in 2035 it was like 150,000 or 100,000 trucks, autonomous trucks are going to be on the highway. Okay, so if that's 150,000 autonomous trucks on the highway, how many drivers are they going to need to get that stuff moved locally? That means you'll be able to get your products faster. You might be able to get it cheaper because they're not having to pay as much because they don't have a driver. You know, the only thing they really got to pay is insurance and maintenance costs on the truck and the fuel prices, the fuel. So that might drive fuel prices down because you got more. So then truck stops. It's like I see we have to be visionaries. We have to envision what things could be instead of being always stuck in a now. Every once in a while, take a glimpse in the future. Take a glimpse in what the future looks like, and be in that. So I'm for it. Now that I think about it more, I'm all for it. Like, shoot, because it's things that I'm just telling you and saying now that I didn't think about. I might have thought about it, but now saying it out loud and understanding, that's going to be a ripple effect. That's going to be more, and that's going to make more. And then those drivers that they could be home, because that's one of the complaints that I had. I want to be home. You know, I want to work 8 hours. If I can work 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, wow, 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day and make $42 an hour or $50 an hour because the company is making all this money and they like, okay, well, the company gonna be straight. And I know company structure is going to structure the company where they're going to be companying. The company is going to company. The system is going to system. So they can afford to pay some of these experienced drivers. And because I've seen that. I've seen where companies, one of the container companies I worked for, they started, I wouldn't say downsizing, but they started changing the structures of pay and stuff like that, and taking away insurance. Some of those drivers that have been there 10, 15, 20 years were naming their price. They were going somewhere else and naming their price, and they were getting those jobs. And that's what got me into wondering, like, okay, I started seeing that, like, okay, these guys have been here 10, 15, 20 years, have started to leave. I need to look for something better. I need to do something better for myself. Do I want to be caught up in this same system of every 2 or 3 years going to another company? No. Let me try my own shit. Let me try my own stuff. Let me try my own business. Let me get in my own lane. And that's what I did. So we have to, like I said, now I am more of an opponent to it. And hopefully I might have gave you some insight on it. You don't look at, it's a lot of distraction, but you have to look at what it does at the long run. It's probably may make goods a little bit cheaper. You might be able to save a little bit more money. That pack of turkey slices might go from $5 to $4.50 or $4.25. You know, that's gonna add up. That shirt or those pants that you bought, and if everything that you buy goes down 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, you know, that adds up in your pocket. We don't think about those things, but it does. It adds up. No, I say that to say, man, I was just thinking about that, man, and after seeing that video, I was like, man, you know, we really have to look at stuff in a different sense. In a different sense, we have to really be creative, and that's me. I'm a creative mind. I like to create. I like to push the needle. I like to change the way I'm thinking and how I do things to really be my better self. And I just pulled into work, y'all. Okay, I'm back. So we really have to change the way we look at some of that stuff. We really have to change the way we process stuff, because, you know, like I say, I do stocks, and not stocks, I trade, and I do it every day. I need to get in it and start making some money from it real soon. But I see money move all day. Things move all day, every day. Money is being moved. Transactions are being made. Things are being constantly moving all day. And man, if we can, you can make an extra $100 a day trading, or $100 a day investing in certain things, man, you good. So it's coming. Things are changing. We are evolving. You have to align. And that goes back to you have to align yourself with what's best for you and your family, man. At the end of the day, that's what you got to do. That's what we have to do. We have to really push forward with what we want to be and where we're trying to go, and be that and do that. This is Mr. Anderson. I got to go to work. I'm late. Y'all enjoy.